When I was a kid, I didn't play any video games until I was about 9 years old, when I happened to find a Game Boy Advance in a box in an otherwise empty closet in a new house. It came with a few games, including classics such as Super Mario World and Monsters Inc. for the Game Boy Advance. But when I heard tell of a friend who owned a Pokemon game, I traded my copy of Super Mario World for a copy of Pokémon Blue that couldn't even save. And I was never the same. I realize now that in terms of quality, that was a pretty shit trade, but Pokémon Blue changed me on such a fundamental level that it was all worth it. I played that game till the batteries in my Game Boy died, and when every bit of progress I had vanished before my eyes, I simply replaced them and started over. I finally got it fixed, played the game top to bottom many years later, and fell in love all over again. The word I would use to describe this game is probably rough, but its smart and addicting gameplay loops make up for that despite its limitations. I decided to take a trip down memory lane and apply the Hardcore Nuzlocke rule set to Pokémon Blue version. So without further ado, hello everybody, my name is Danneon, and these are my attempts at a Hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Blue. For anyone who doesn't know, a Nuzlocke is a playthrough of a Pokemon game with a self-imposed rule set to make the game harder. The base rules for this challenge are, if a Pokemon gets KO'd in battle, it is considered dead and cannot be used again. You may only catch the first Pokemon you encounter in any given area of the game, and you must nickname all of your Pokemon to force an emotional attachment. I will be playing the hardcore rule set though, meaning the rules also include no using items in battle, held items are okay, but that's not really relevant for this game since they don't exist. No leveling your Pokemon beyond a gym leader's ace Pokemon, and you must play on set mode. I also use the species clause, meaning I may re-roll encounters until I get a new encounter, but I may only use one of each individual evolution line. I've done a few Nuzlockes before, but I'm relatively new to the area of hardcore Nuzlocking, so we'll see how this goes. I decided to name myself Geezer because only an old man would play such an old game. The opposite of that would be Baby, so that's what I name my rival. I leave my room, ignore my mom entirely, sorry ma, and immediately run for the bushes. Professor Oak stops me and eventually offers me a Pokemon so I can be protected from the many dangers of the foliage beyond. I choose Bulbasaur and name him Dale. Baby chooses Charmander and immediately challenges me to a battle. He starts with a growl to lower Dale's attack as Dale misses a tackle. Not the best start. We're already doing way less damage than Charmander, so I retaliate with some growls of my own. Once we're both weakened, it's essentially a race to see who gets a critical hit first, since crits ignore the stat debuffs from Growl. Dale just eventually succumbs to scratches though, and that's a reset. Some people don't start the Nuzlocke rules until after obtaining Pokeballs, but the way I see it, no one is safe from the icy hand of death. On attempt 2, I realize being young is clearly an advantage, so I name myself Baby instead. So when Dale and I battle the Geezer, it'll be a sure victory, right? God damn it. So Charmander gets a critical hit right out the gate, which pretty much screws Dale 2.0. This fight continues to be a bitch with 2 more missed tackles, but we were never going to win after that crit anyway. So on attempt 3, we switch it up and move on to an avatar theme instead, because I'm just a nerd in so many ways. I name Bulbasaur Hugh this time before we stare down our new rival, Ozai, for the very first time. I start by growling after he hits a scratch. I get a few more off, taking little bits of damage, then again miss my first tackle, allowing Charmander to growl back. So when I do actually hit one, we're not doing much. Eventually Hugh just stops dealing damage because he's so weak, but on his 11th tackle, he manages to crit Charmander, eventually winning us the battle. Finally, I can leave town. I grab a parcel from the Pokemon Mart in Viridian City, deliver it to Oak, and receive the Pokedex, so that I can move on to getting Pokeballs for some encounters. On Route 1, I catch a Rattata and name her Hama. I jump over to Route 22, where I catch a Spearow and name him Gyatso. Then on Route 2, I catch a Caterpie and name him Merchant. In Viridian City, I run into a couple more Caterpies, and then luckily get the Pikachu encounter, which only has a 5% encounter rate. His name is Iroh, and surely he will be by my side for many battles to come. After making my way to Pewter City and grinding up Hugh a bit, he learns Vine Whip a bit before the level cap. This pretty much cripples the first gym leader, Brock. He leads with a terrifying poop monster that cannot be allowed to pervert the earth any longer, so Hugh cracks the Vine Whip and takes it out in one shot. Onyx is next. I decide to play it a little safer and use Leech Seed turn 1, since I know it will likely try to use Bide, which can be kinda scary if you hit into it. It does use Bide, but with a chip from Leech Seed, we're easily able to take it out with a Vine Whip, though I think one would have just one-shot it. That was always going to be easy with Bulbasaur. My next encounter is a Jigglypuff from Route 3 named Lily. Then I head to Mount Moon, where I catch a Geodude and name her Toph. Mount Moon goes smoothly, and I am able to pick up Lord Helix along the way. Then on Route 4 I catch a Sandshrew and name him Boomy. He won't be very useful for the upcoming water gym, but he'll be very useful later. I grind up Merchant a bit until he evolves into Butterfree just so he can be a bit less useless, and then make my way into Cerulean City. There's a rival fight here, but he always leads with his Pidgey, so it should just be a clean one-shot with Iroh. I lead with Lily for some experience, and... Okay, so that's way stronger than I was expecting. I switched to Iroh on a Hard Gust, which is actually a normal type move in this game, meaning Iroh does not resist it, and takes a massive chunk of damage. I go for Thunder Wave to paralyze this thing, but not before it hits a strong quick attack, leaving Iroh in the red. He's dead to another quick attack here, so I switch into Toph, who is nowhere near prepared for this battle. But a few defense curls means we can actually take a lot of hits. Pidgeotto uses Sand Attack to blind the Blind Bandit, which somehow works. But with the help of some lucky paralysis turns, she eventually wins the battle of attrition and knocks out the Pidgeotto with half her health remaining. Abra comes in, but he can only use Teleport at this point, meaning Toph's free to knock it out with a couple tackles. Next is Rattata, so I stay in since I have so much defense built up. I'm able to get a tackle off before Rattata crits with a quick attack, and then immediately crits again with a Hyper Fang, killing Toph. I knew these moments would happen, but nothing can prepare you for your first loss. You put on a hell of a show, Toph, and your memory shall be cherished. Her valiant sacrifice allows Hugh to come in and finish the Rattata with a crit Vine Whip. Last up is Charmander, which is scary to use Hugh against since it can hit him with super effective Embers, and we're dead in the water if we waltz into the fight with Misty without our trusty Grass type. So I switch into Gyatso to get a few growls off. Charmander just uses Scratch and misses a growl, but he does eventually go for the Ember. And Gyatso barely survives with 1 HP, but then it burns, sealing Gyatso's fate. Another life lost. Well, I send out Iroh next to hit a Thundershock, which, in hindsight, was completely unnecessary, and Iroh dies for my mistake. His blood is on my hands. I use Merchant next since, well, he's dispensable and I need to get some damage off on this guy, or we could be wiping to a rival fight that I knew was here. After slowing it down with a String Shot, Merchant moves first, so he fires off tackle after tackle. Charmander decides to be very stupid here and does not use Ember, so it's starting to look like we might win this with Merchant. But on the final turn before it would have gone down, Charmander wises up and kills Merchant with an Ember. But his efforts mean that Hugh can come in and finish the job. War is never pretty, but as I stand surrounded by the bodies of my beloved team members, one can only ask, what was it all for? These Pokemon had lives before I came along and forced them into life or death scenarios. Is it all my fault? Did they die because of me? Yes. After a bit of grinding, Hugh reaches the level cap for Misty's gym, so we take her on. This is the first of a few battles in this game where I forget to turn battle animations back on after training, so I apologize in advance for every other fight with old sprites just staring at each other menacingly. A few Vine Whips kill her whole team as Misty either hits weak tackles or sets up X defense. That's badge number 2. I grind a couple more of my Pokemon up so this game doesn't just become Hugh against the world, and work my way up through Nugget Bridge to help an arrogant fool playing God. In exchange, he gives us a ticket aboard the SS Anne, which we will need soon. On the way there, I encountered an Abra, but without any way to keep it from fleeing, we miss out on the capture. That's fine though, because now it's time for a bunch of new encounters. We work our way down from Cerulean City, where, after a fight that lasts much longer than expected, we catch a Meowth and name him Momo. On our way to Viridian City, we also catch a Bellsprout and name him, her, Smellerbee.
A beautiful name for a lovely girl!
In Viridian City, we're able to talk to a fisherman in his little house, and he gives us an old rod, which I can use just outside his house to catch a Magikarp and name him Paku. It takes a bit of very annoying switch training to get this little guy to level 20, but once he does, we have ourselves an early game Gyarados, which could probably sweep its way through the entire rest of the game. Then, moving forward to the next route, I catch a Drowsy, which I name Aunt Wu. With a new team of 6, we head off into the grass for some training before getting on the boat. Unfortunately, Momo doesn't live to see the ocean. I wasn't recording right away, but while training in the grass, I thought I would have an easy victory against this wild Meowth of a lower level than Momo, but a couple crits from Bite result in Momo meeting an early end. This was actually a pretty tough loss, since critical hits function based on the speed stat in this game, and Persian is a very fast Pokemon with access to Slash, a move with an increased critical hit ratio, meaning it's practically guaranteed to crit with the same type attack bonus or stab normal type move, which is pretty crazy. Persian doesn't actually learn Slash until level 51 though, so it would have been a while before we got to abuse that anyway. Finally, we can board the SS Anne safely and face off against Ozai once again. It's time for a little bit of revenge. He leads Pidgeotto again, and I lead with Aunt Wu. Pidgeotto lands a pretty hard quick attack, but Aunt Wu retaliates with a Hypnosis that lulls the big bird to sleep. Sleep in this game can potentially last up to 7 turns, and they aren't able to attack on the turn they wake up, which is completely busted. So we're free to knock it out with a few confusions. Next is Raticate, which deals a decent amount with Tackle, as I miss a Hypnosis. Raticate then goes for Hyper Fang, which will absolutely kill if it crits, but fortunately it misses entirely. The RNG does balance out though, because Aunt Wu misses another Hypnosis. I debate switching out to avoid the crit Hyper Fang, but ultimately decide to stay in. Raticate goes for a quick attack this time, which deals a decent amount of damage, but Aunt Wu finally connects with a Hypnosis, which lets us freely kill the rodent of unusual size with a couple confusions, even though it wakes up on the second turn. Next is Kadabra, so I switch into Paku since Wu's HP is getting a little low. Kadabra goes for a Disable on the switch, which disables Paku's Splash.
Okay. Good one.
Paku uses Bubble Beam, which it can learn thanks to the TM from Misty's gym. Without using TMs, Gyarados wouldn't know a water-type move until level 41 when it learns Hydro Pump. It doesn't do a ton of damage because Special Attack and Special Defense are actually the same stat in this game, meaning Kadabra is actually pretty specially tanky with its base special stat of 120. It just wastes time using Disable again though, so on the next turn a Bite takes it out. Last is Charmeleon, but a single Bubble Beam is all Paku needs for the one-shot, winning us a clean victory against Ozai. Much better than last time. This allows me to go see the sickly captain who gives me the HM for Cut, meaning we can finally fight the third gym leader, Lieutenant Surge. He specializes in electric-type Pokemon, but we have Boomy who evolved into Sandslash while we were on the boat. He knows Dig thanks to a TM we got in Cerulean City. Sandslash doesn't actually learn a single ground-type move by level up, so that Dig TM comes in pretty clutch. There's not much to say about this fight because Boomy walls and one-shots literally all of Surge's Pokemon, giving us an easy third gym badge. The gym leaders in this game rarely have any forms of coverage, so you'll see that a lot of them can be swept pretty easily using just one Pokemon. Moving on, we go up through Diglett Cave and accidentally kill our Diglett encounter. Oops. Not much exciting happens until we get to the next town, but we do lose Smellerbee to a Hiker's Machop, which crit with a Karate Chop. But like, we have Hugh anyway, so whatever. Sorry girlie. Rest in as much peace as you can while I swing your dead carcass around to cut down trees. Shortly after, Aunt Wu evolves into a Hypno, a Pokemon I absolutely love, especially after this playthrough. I teach Flash to Lily, who's evolved into a Wigglytuff since the last time you saw her, and make my way to Rock Tunnel. I do miss my encounter here, but I'm pretty sure it was just a Zubat, and without the ability to evolve into Crobat, I'm not particularly interested in that capture anyway. On Route 7, however, I catch myself a Vulpix and name him Zuko. I would love to use Ninetales in this playthrough since Ninetales is one of my favorite Pokemon, but he doesn't learn any good moves until way past the level cap of the Grass Gym Leader, and Fire isn't really good for anything beyond that. Once I get to Lavender Town, I fight Ozai yet again, but win a pretty clean victory so we can skip that for now. Finally, I reach Celadon City where I can get a Pokemon I have been waiting for this whole game. In the Celadon mansion, I can pick up the Eevee that's just sitting here on this table. I name her Azula because she's about to zap anything that flies with super effective Thunderbolts for the rest of the game. I run straight to the department store to pick up a Thunderstone and evolve her into a Jolteon. She'll be on the bench for now, but you'll soon see why this Pokemon is so goated in this game. Not long after, I head just outside of town to catch a Doduo, who, as our resident flyer, which earns the title of Aang. And so, after a wee bit of training, we're ready to take on Erica. Water break. Alright, I walk into this fight maybe a little overconfident, but with a Vulpix, a Doduo, and a Hypno, it shouldn't be much of a challenge. Erica leads her level 29 Victory Bell, and I lead with Zuko, who's still only level 23. I attempt to start with a Roar to hopefully bring in Tangela, who's only level 24, but Victory Bell hits a Wrap, which doesn't allow Zuko to act. So I immediately switch to Aunt Wu on a crit Razor Leaf. It doesn't quite do half though, so we're safe to get off a Confusion on the next turn as it just goes for Wrap again. I wait out the Wrap, which thankfully only lasts one turn, and finish it off with another Confusion. Tangela is next, so I stay in to see how much a Confusion will do. But it's not quite enough for the 2-shot, and Tangela deals a bit of damage with a Constrict that also lowers Aunt Wu's speed. I'm planning to use Aunt Wu on the Vileplume in the back, so I decide to switch in Aang, who does get caught in a bind, but it also thankfully only lasts one turn, meaning Aang can outspeed and finish the job with a Fly on the next turn. Now the Vileplume comes out. Aang's able to hit pretty dang hard with a Fly for being so out-leveled, but on the subsequent turn, Vileplume hits hard with a nasty Petal Dance that would have decimated Aang if it crit. I switch into Lily to tank the next Petal Dance, and put the bastard to sleep with a Sing on the next turn. Lily's dead to a crit Petal Dance, so she flashes her chest a few times to lower Vileplume's accuracy. When it wakes up, it fortunately misses the final hit of Petal Dance, and becomes confused. Between that and the accuracy drops, it's powerless to do anything as Lily pounds it to death, winning us our 4th gym badge. The level cap skyrockets here thanks to lots of Team Rocket stuff that we can skip because even Giovanni is super easy. Then we make our way to Lavender Town to use our newly acquired Silph Scope to catch a Ghastly in Pokemon Tower. I name him Jet and he goes into the box, never to be seen again. The Gengar line is actually pretty trash in these games because not only are Ghost and Poison physical types when Gengar is a very special boy, but that barely even matters since the only Ghost type move in this game is Nightshade, which always deals damage equal to the user's level. Plus, I would be stuck with Haunter anyway. So yeah, Jet's pretty much useless. We beat up some more Team Rocket grunts and save Mr. Fuji, who rewards our efforts with a Pokéflute, granting us access to further towns in the game, and 2 opportunities to catch the big man himself, Snorlax. Luckily, after one hell of an annoying fight, we're able to catch the first one and name him Sokka. Next we go to Saffron City for more Team Rocket, and another battle with Ozai that we're a little underleveled for, but it goes without much issues, so we can skip that along with the next fight for Giovanni. He's kind of a wimp, all things considered. I do make sure to sweep through the entire fighting dojo with Aang while I'm here so I can get myself a Hitmonlee, which I only mention because of how proud of her name I am, Ty Lee. Finally, we face the next gym leader, Koga. Koga and Sabrina have the exact same level cap, so I'm a touch underleveled for this fight just to ensure we don't overlevel Sabrina, who is by far the scarier fight. Koga leads with Coughing, and I lead with Sokka. Koga's Coughings actually don't know self-destruct, but I didn't know that at the time, so I figured Sokka would be our best chance to tank the hit if we needed to. This feels like as good a time as any to point out Coughing's bizarre-ass sprite in this game. Like, why are the skull and crossbones above his face? You got it right in the Japanese versions. How do you possibly mess this up? Anyway, Coughing misses a smokescreen, and Sokka retaliates hard with an earthquake it learned from a TM found in one of the rocket hideouts. It doesn't quite get the one-shot, but Sokka just takes a soft sludge and KOs with a body slam on the next turn. Next is Muck, which hits a little harder with another sludge, but Earthquake does over half, so on the next turn, Sokka dodges a poison gas and knocks it out with another Earthquake. Next is his second Coughing, and I'm again unnecessarily scared of a self-destruct. So I switch to Azula to paralyze it for as safe a switch as possible into Aunt Wu. In hindsight, if this thing was gonna go boom, Having a Jolteon with a base defense of 60 and a base HP of 65 out was probably not the best play. It doesn't though, so we switch into Aunt Wu as Koga sets up a couple X attacks. My heart was beating out of my chest at the possibility of a twice boosted self-destruct. Once Aunt Wu is in though, it's a one-shot with Psychic on both Coughing and his Ace Wheezing. That's badge number 5. After that, we grind up a bit since Sabrina is probably the scariest fight in the whole game, and I am not about to lose someone due to being lazy with my levels. Her Ace Alakazam is very scary specially, but super frail physically, so the idea here is to use a couple of Meditates against her weaker Pokemon to boost Aunt Wu's physical attack and hopefully sweep through the rest of her team from there. This immediately goes south, however, because after we set up our first Meditate, Kadabra manages to confuse Aunt Wu with a Psybeam. Having boosted attack here actually means that Aunt Wu will deal more damage to herself should she decide to damage herself in confusion, which of course she immediately does before taking a bit more chip from another Psybeam. I decide to stay in, and it pays off as Aunt Wu breaks through confusion to one-shot the Kadabra. Next up is a very plump-looking Mr. Mime, who takes a massive chunk from another headbutt, before tickling Aunt Wu with a double slap. I decide this looks like a good opportunity to set up another Meditate as Fatso over here just tickles us again. Another headbutt takes it out. Next is Venomoth, who goes down to a single Psychic, and then Alakazam comes out. I've seen this thing murder people's runs before, so facing it head on below half health is a little scary, but I run the calcs and find that we should be safe against even a critical hit Psychic, which is very likely considering how fast Alakazam is. I'm very surprised to find that our tubby little Hypno somehow outspeeds this thing and lands a headbutt that comes so very close to the one-shot. Sabrina then heals with a Hyper Potion in the middle of the turn. I'm not sure how this is possible, but I'm assuming it's because for some reason the AI doesn't decide what the enemy Pokemon will do until the exact moment it's about to do it. But regardless, another headbutt brings Alakazam back into the red.
Yeah, bitch! Magnets! Oh!
Another headbutt wins us the battle, and the 6th badge is ours. Up next is a bunch of trudging our way through the slog that is the Safari Zone, where I encounter a fucking Paris, by the way, Seafoam Islands, and the Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island. All of which go completely smoothly, so let's just fight Blaine and Giovanni, eh? This is a cinch because literally every team member of both their teams goes down to Surfs from an underleveled Paku. The only one to survive more than one hit is Blaine's Arcanine, which actually does the weird potion in the middle of the turn thing again, but he only uses a super potion, which doesn't even get him up to half health, so a second Surf knocks it clean out. That nets us an easy 7th and 8th gym badge, meaning we're ready to face off against the Elite Four. There's actually one more fight with Ozai, but I forgot to turn the battle animations back on, and we wipe his ass across the floor anyway, so skip. Clearly, since I'm a Nuzlocke purist and all that, I obviously grind my team all the way up from the mid-40s to level 59 before the Elite Four, right? Right? So, here's the whole squad carefully and skillfully grinded up to the level 59 to match the champion's Alakazam. Traditionally in Nuzlockes, you would level up to match the ace of the final Elite Four member, but Lance's Dragonite is actually level 62, and this run has been pretty easy for like the last half of the game, so I figured I'd limit myself just a bit more. And so, Azula the Jolteon, Sokka the Snorlax, Aunt Wu the Hypno, Aang the Dodrio, Hugh the Venusaur, and Paku the Gyarados charge through the gates of the Indigo League. Let's see if they've got what it takes to become champions. First up is Lorelei, who specializes in ice types, which are actually almost exclusively water types as well, meaning Azula can fry her Dugong, Cloyster, and Slowbro with a Thunderbolt each. Jinx comes out 4th, so I use a Thunder Wave knowing that this one's gonna last a bit longer. Jinx just lands a soft Ice Punch in retaliation, which luckily does not freeze, So I fire off a 2-hit pin missile as Jinx gets fully paralyzed. Another pin missile brings her into the red, but it annoyingly also only hits twice, meaning Lorelei heals. She only uses a super potion for some reason though, so a third pin missile, which does hit more than twice, finishes off the Jinx. Last is Lapras, which I'm hoping to one-shot with Thunderbolt, but we just barely miss it, meaning Lapras can retaliate with a body slam, which gets the paralysis. I'm not sure if we're at risk to a crit or not, but I decide it's just not worth it to risk anything when I can just as easily switch to Paku while Lorelei uses a super potion. Finally, a completely unnecessary Hyper Beam eviscerates Lapras on a molecular level, netting us the first victory. Next up for the Elite Four is Bruno, the fighting and Onyx type specialist. He leads with his first Rocky Snake, so I lead Hugh. We haven't seen this guy for a while, huh? Well, while everyone else was out winning gym badges and whatnot, this guy was training under the Ancient Sun Warriors for one purpose: to blast this Onyx with a solar beam so hard it gives him skin cancer, which is pretty difficult to do to something made of rocks. Suffer. Next is Hitmonchan, which does know both Fire Punch and Ice Punch. Since these moves are special in this game and Hitmonchan's special is atrocious, we'd probably be fine to stay in here, but for the sake of time, Hugh passes the baton over to Aunt Wu, while Bruno sets up an X-Defend. That don't mean shit though, cause Aunt Wu proceeds to outspeed and OHKO the rest of his team with Psychics, meaning we get out of this one without so much as a scratch. Third is Agatha, the ghost but actually poison type specialist. She leads with Gengar, who does outspeed Aunt Wu, but he misses a Hypnosis like a buffoon and dies to a single Psychic. Golbat, Haunter, and Arbok all meet similarly swift ends. Her second and final Gengar does outspeed to land a Nightshade, but that can only deal 60 damage, so another Psychic wins us another fight. You know a type is busted when it can be used to single-handedly sweep a specialist of the type that said type is supposed to be weak against. Anywho, last is Lance, who is easily the one I'm the most afraid of. He leads with Gyarados, and I lead Azula, so she can zap that thing right out of the sky before it has the chance to move. Next is his first Dragonair, which Azula doesn't really have anything to do about, so I switch to Paku while it boosts its speed with an agility. This means that it can outspeed to hit a Dragon Rage on the next turn, which only deals 40 damage, so there's nothing to be scared of. Immediately after, Paku hits an almost guaranteed Blizzard since Blizzard is 90% accurate in this game, and gets the one-shot. Next is the second Dragonair, but without the agility boost, Paku easily outspeeds for another Blizzard one-shot. Next is Aerodactyl. This thing's as fast as Jolteon, meaning it can obviously move first against Paku, but it just misses a takedown. A Surf knocks it out in one shot. Last is Dragonite, but like his younger brothers before him, he too goes down to a single Blizzard, meaning we beat the Elite Four, taking damage a whopping 3 times. So now it's time for the champion. The final battle is against none other than Ozai himself. Flashbacks from our fateful battle with him race across Hugh and I's minds. The rest of the team wasn't there to see it, but they understand the pain. They heard the stories, and they'd felt the effects. This feud had gone on too long, and it was time to make sure Ozai's tyranny ended right here and right now.
I have all the power in the world!
He leads Pidgeot and I lead Azula, but Big Bird over here doesn't scare me anymore. A single Thunderbolt knocks it clean out. Next is Alakazam. I use a Thunder Wave to cripple it as much as I can, but it still gets off a Reflect, meaning our subsequent Pin Missile doesn't do much. A follow-up Psychic hits Azula pretty hard and gets the special drop, meaning another one will hit even harder. I stay in though, since Pin Missile is the only super effective move we have against this guy. Fortunately, the paralysis pays off, and Alakazam is fully paralyzed after taking a hit, allowing Azula to finish it off with a crit Pin Missile on the next turn. Next is Rhydon, which Azula can't do much to, so I switch to Hugh as it misses a Horn Drill. This means Hugh can put it to sleep with a Sleep Powder on the next turn, meaning he's got enough time to charge up a Solar Beam for the one-shot. Fourth is Exeggutor, who I must say is looking quite dashing this evening. I want as safe a switch into Aang as I can get, so Hugh puts it to sleep with a Sleep Powder, but it immediately wakes up that very turn, so I put it to sleep with a Sleep Powder again. And again he immediately wakes up. So a third sleep powder puts him to sleep again, and it wakes up again. This guy's got some pretty serious insomnia. On the fourth sleep powder, he finally sleeps for a turn, granting me a safe switch into Aang. Executor does wake up on the turn I switch, but Aang outspeeds and hits a nasty drill peck, bringing it into the red. It does survive though, meaning it can get a crit barrage off. When a multi-hit move like that crits in this game, the crit actually counts for every subsequent hit, meaning that would really hurt if it hit more than 2 times. That's actually one of the reasons Jolteon with Pin Missile is so good in this game, since that comboed with crits based on speed, and it being allowed to have 110 special defense without the special split, means it's one of the best, if not the best, answer to Psychic types. And kills with another Drill Peck, which brings out Gyarados. I go for a Tri-Attack, hoping I can get a Paralysis or a Burn or something off, but I don't, and Aang takes a Dragon Rage. So I use another Tri-Attack to bring Gyarados into the red, and hopefully get a status off, but no such luck. Aang takes another Dragon Rage. I could just kill Gyarados here, but all Ozai's got left after this is Charizard, and I'd like to have Paku already in when that comes out, so I switch here instead. This turns out to be a huge mistake, as Gyarados goes for a Hyper Beam, which crits and leaves Paku with 17 HP. Paku is able to finish it off on the recharge turn though. This brings out Charizard. Unfortunately, it's time for Paku to make the ultimate sacrifice. We've come so far, and haven't had a death in so long that it pains me, but it is the surest way to win. Paku outspeeds to land a Surf, but with such a level deficit, we both knew that that would never get the one-shot. Paku braces himself for what was sure to be his final moments, but Charizard uses Rage. Despite all odds, Paku tanks another hit from a Charizard 6 levels higher than he is, allowing him to get one more Surf off, winning us the battle and the run. What an absolute legend. Thank you all for watching my video. Making content for YouTube is something I have always wanted to do, and I had so much fun making this. If even a few people watch my video and enjoy it, it'll make me happy for like the rest of my days. I don't know. It was so fun. If you really liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and comment what kind of challenge you'd like to see me do next. I have a lot of ideas, but obviously I am open to suggestions, so hit me with them. With that, I guess there's not much more to say. So, thanks again. I'll see you in the next one, and make sure you take it easy.